which you have a couple of featured poets and then an open reading. Where I'm especially delighted tonight, an old friend, James Cagney, who I have a great respect and esteem in my, yes, indeed, an important person, an important poetic voice, and I'm delighted, not having had the opportunity to hear his work before. Thomas Dunn is going to be reading tonight, and Thomas is reading first, and I know he's a poet, a experimental filmmaker, a multimedia visual artist, and also a Cave Canem fellow. I just found out today that the Latin, that means beware of the dog. And it's a tremendous group with a lot of the very important poetic voices happening. And I guess it's not just African American, it's Black diasporic voices, period. Okay. Well, it's tremendous. And I think Terrence Hayes, reading his stuff, the first time I realized it's an essential support and, mechanism for mutual, cross-pollination and solidarity among creative voices. So I'm very excited to, and I know that Thomas is doing an MFA, is what he right in creative writing at the was it the
California College of the Arts.
California College of the Arts? Yeah. It's, so we're delighted. We're going to start with Thomas. Then it's going to be followed by James. It'll be a short break and then an open mic session.
Sweet.
All right, Thomas Dunn.
Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. I just want to say one thing before I start reading. I met James across the country at a Cavecano. So it was like I don't know, we flew in together, didn't know each other, and then became best friends when we moved back. So I just want to say it's a really cool experience to like get to finally read again with James here on this side of the country, and just run into him whenever I get. You know what? I'm not sure. Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah. But you were doing great. I'm going to start. I guess I'm going to start with like a mic check poem for me and then like move in from there. But give me 1 second just to put this down. Okay. So this poem is called I Become the Frontiersman because Nick has not read any of my thesis. And he's in the back. So in 2018, my friend Al passed away. And so I've been writing a lot of poems about Michigan and about the friend by using the San Francisco landscape as a way of kind of like reimagining what it's like to continue a conversation through death with them. So this first poem is called I Become the Frontiersman, and we'll go from there. Rush in without permission. Stole a moment of beauty, exploding, grinning, taken by the hand hum. Struck out swimming through the Atlantic. My English shifts from black to troubadour, black boy to boyish, and then to you. And you, sweet boy, fell into the depths of earth, and in the dark of it, places I could not follow. Dream journals were the only place I saw you when I couldn't see clouds, or the sky, or the trees, or the molten brick, the empty clink of dishes, floor tile, or the fucking sink, or the pots, pans stacked in the cupboard sand. You, underneath the stove, chip, blue painter's tape, silent on a block where my family's the only black. Here, in a neighborhood, frozen, stayed up middle breath, asking every afternoon if I wait. Should I wait for you? Wait. In the dream where I call to you, safe in the sound of this morning, in the dark as well, in the mouth, every room on my tongue is in song for you, where you are a moment, you, my only saint, you, in this void where I strum, open sky and hue blue, bounce round, refracted when I reach for you, ripped, red from mountains, pink from clouds, and cerulean teeth, me, now wanderer, me, in this yearnful place, me, And the solace, me with these boorish tears assaulting air, plead at an altar for you in a single breath, one, just to hear you laugh, one simple hit to wheeze to build a simple shrine, take hold of a moment's breath and strive to this place of death with a pen as an axe blade into language for a glimpse of you. This next poem is called Liable. I'm a huge fan of Hart Crane, and so like I've been doing a whole thing where he has this line in my grandmother's letters where he says, what is like the letters are so soft and they're now soft brown now. They've been pressed into the ceiling for so long, they're soft brown now and liable to melt as snow. And I just thought that was like one of the most beautiful lines I've ever heard in my life about someone's words and like how they've lived on past the time that they're here. And of course, I'm writing to a friend, and so I wanted to imagine kind of the same continuing conversation. So this poem is called Liable. So take two. There are no clouds in the sky today, only their memory. A gang of toughs wandering, outlaws, pillowed lips split to reveal more of the pale. I sat by the window, watched the city stir, surges of tires, cranes mid-conversation. The pain simple through straits of language. Tell me, do you remember the cobwebs, the spiders in the corner, the rooms where love was present as mother, and in the memory of this room, an exposed brown beam on the ceiling by the sagebrush walls, I'd fall into the meadow of the mind peak, my head through everything, with everything connected, those trees and their slow dance with wind and its music, and in that hum I recall those years, that one I'd spent with you, those others you'd gone away, and I ask myself, what's the postage for a letter to the dead? Is it decades of quiet or the need to let go? Your laugh is pressed into the edges of the ceiling, and has been for so long, is soft brown and liable to melt as snow. All right. A few more long ones. I'm gonna move into like shorter ones, but I'm gonna see if I can do this really quick. So I have a deep love for my professor Carla Harriman, and she's from Eastern Michigan. She has this idea where if you take a noun, you can use a noun as a verb. And so one of the things I really like is like these things called noun phrases. Can everyone hear me still? Are we cool? All right, cool. Just want to double check. So Carla has this idea where she's like using a noun phrase, using a noun as a verb in a phrase. And so last summer I was at Cave and we were writing this poem. I was like, it'd be fun to use this idea, use her line. It's called I Brain the Hammer. So this poem is for her. So, Carla, I brain the hammer. Forge thought into tool to hemorrhage printer ink and spill through night. Shoe bottoms scrape concrete. Snare brushes, hands dug deep in pockets, eyes set on the tree branches, sloshing with the breeze wine churned soft serve. Wildfires dance on the nose hair, scratching lines dug out from chump chains in the family lexicon, cast out in divination, prayer, poems like autumn and leaves blown in every direction, teetering goals in the tangerine, sunrise, day, night, watch, twilight shifting through trees, ribcage. I brain the hammer. I formed each breath into a tool to impose spirit on the page, let it sing, haunt long after I'm gone, when just the ghost of a voice remains here. Clouds skirt across the wide blue breeze-filled birdsong and branch dance, tips of buildings submerged in 1,000 green shades tossed as far as the eye can reach. Here, now, out, walking, I wander through groves of dead pine needle cake trails beneath redwoods and wonder if there are even spirits left to haunt that know their name, except in basements and attic rooms, the white kids palm Ouija boards drenched in pop magic, lies thumbing afterlife, bloodhounds sniffing hunting grounds, track gunpowder blanket, rank war boots through animal tracks to waft the deer's pit hits when someone asks, why does it never seem to be specific people in my walk poems? And then I'm right there in front of 10 kids at a Dippin' Dot station at a Dow Diamond ballpark birthday party. A practical joke gone sideways. A mother whose kid I played against in various little league games, screaming for old blues, drawn gun to draw blood, and I talked them all down. Whole crowd goes silent, phones out, filming. Minutes later, the red retreats from her sideline. I'm allowed back into focus. She swirls her hands through clumps of air, reveals her palms and then her teeth to me. Remembers she knows me, calls me by name. Okay. You more. I'm a fan of Robert Duncan. I saw a few Robert Duncan poems, like books, poetry books in the back here. I kept thinking about that poem. It goes, often I'm allowed. Wait, it's like a poem about like permission, about giving. Often I'm allowed. Oh man, can someone help me out in this? Often I'm permitted to return to a meadow. Thank you. So I've been thinking a lot about the idea of permission, right? And so this is a poem called Thank You, Nick. And so I'm wrote a poem based off of that as well. So it's called Thinking. Of those dreams of permission, and what does it mean to be permitted? And why would I give that power to anyone else? On the bench on the balcony, knots in my shoulders unfurl with the sunlight lacing behind the freeway and overpass where the evening commute is slowed to molasses in the mouth of the 101, north, south, and I call out to you in an aching bleat. An engine symphony blares the backing track. I picked it up on the downbeat, stalling mid-breath in the heat of the midday rush. The late hour crawl and time moves against the flow of carbon through lungs. And so often I let myself return to this moment with a single thought stretching out from yesterday to the next day, and I assume I must have been born drifting off the glare of a car windshield toward another simmering skyscraper, or glistening once or twice before I watched nights bleed into the next. Happy, I'm trained to lie quieted by a whisper, agony with this light bowing through a hills-made curtain call. So when I allow myself to return to this balcony, I count every shade of green on the tree in front of me, every lime bursting and every yellow caught but between the shades of dark greens and hues of Granny Smith's found inside the dull glow of the tangerine sunset. And on my way back to this, that's spilling out with every broken stress. All right. I think 3 more. Here we go. Cool. I'm going to read 3 more. So, this one's called It Rained. So a lot of these poems have the first title runs into the rest of them. So here we go. It rained all last night, as it had yesterday, as it did the day before. The creek was foaming, and when morning came, it wasn't raining anymore. So stumbling out into the green, across the bridge, round a bend, crossing more of the same water, letting my eyes slope the tree line, waving back to stirring wind. I fold at the spot, the moss-cracked steps, the ivy-lace chateau, those soft pads of running shoes, scuff the trails matching the rhythms of jackhammers. Table salt, the forklifts, a fuchsia rose sun spotlight when someone asks what a poem does in the face of iron rain bursting everything, bright waves and bird calls when someone asks what's gained from a poem about the things anyone can see on a walk up a trail. And I'll sketch those same steps again tomorrow, then pause to say everything. Actually, let's do 2 more. For real, let's do 2 more. So, I was hanging out with James before the reading as well, and we had this There is a artist named Mary Lovelace O'Neill whose first show is at SF MoMA. One of her first shows at SF MoMA is right now on display, and she's 82 years old. And so one of the curators, I was lucky enough to meet one of the people that like worked with her back in the 90s and 80s, and she had this thing that she said she was really tough to work with because she would never like lower the price of her paintings, right? She'd be like, this poem is $2 million, or this is like this is $200,000. And so like she was like so hard to work with, but like we all like she was saying at the time, we all respected her work. And so I kept thinking about like, man, that's fucking rad. Like I'm kind of like, what happens if I was like, this poem is like $2 million, and what if I wrote it as like a ransom note? And so I was on the Cal train back from this SF MoMA like show, and I was like, I wrote this poem, and so this poem is worth $2 million. By the time I finish this poem, you will owe me $2 million. Before scratching your head to exclaim, what the fuck? No, my voice is worth more than that. You stumbled into its presence for free without paying, and when you leave, you'll be richer for it. Forever in my debt, or in the shadow of my light, or my words light, and by my estimation, I've already given you a discount. Already wandered in SF MoMA on some transgressive stuff. Some transatlantic, aggressive, fuck the institutional, systematic drops against my window, and I can't stand the fame the rain gets from falling on my skin, from being in my poem, just being near my words. By the time this poem ends, you owe me $2 million. This is non-negotiable. No 20% discount. The sort of short phrase that ends with a period. It's simple. I won't complicate your misunderstandings of me. So by the time this poem ends, you'll pay its dowry. You'll be kind. You'll gorilla girl SF MoMA and let black women in before their hair gray, before she's 82. You'll give her her rooms and her flowers and her seat at the table, and maybe you won't invite another poet to read. That's fine. Today, at the end of this poem, you'll owe me $2 million, but you won't pay. You'll make sure more black women's paintings are in this room or the other room today and tomorrow and every day after. You'll do it before her hair grays. You'll do it before she retires so that she can retire. And you'll treat it as an oath, as a loan, as a debt owed. All right, last one. Actually, I lied. I'm gonna read two more, and then we're for rough. This poem is called "His Hands Betrayed Him." Would you believe me if I said that he, and I won't sugarcoat it, is an asshole, but a gentle asshole, someone whose left hand doesn't know what his right is doing. It betrays him, signals a goodness he hides. Am I like that? Someone who can surrender truth only with his shoulders against the wall, who dreams of love, but love, like all things, is an action and can't be held within the darks of an untranslatable word, a word we painted with this glowing abstraction and color. Isn't color an action? As form is an action? As life is an action? As thought is actionable? As gender? As speech? As frameworks? As breath? As song? As lungs? As time? As money? As waiting? As waiting for the needle to drop or explode on the page, as flight, as exposed beams in childhood rooms, as brick after brick. And can't all these things be built with one's hands? Hands that may betray you as his hands betrayed him. All right, and last one. Thank you guys for reading or listening to me read. Thank you guys for reading, reading me while on stage. This last one's called "For Al," and it's after Walt Whitman. And I have this dream about retiring to the woods with a dog. That's really all I want from this life. That's all I want. And so this is the last one. I want to retire to the woods with a dog. Both are so simple and so self-assured. I stand looking at them silent for so long and realize trees don't complain about circumstance. Don't lie awake in dark rooms cursing with deep regret of a fourth grade sin. They don't. Make me sick like pretentious worship of dead white dude artists. I've never talked to one tree obsessed with property. I haven't heard an oak utter one yes sir, no ma'am to any one swinging whatever axe they wanted to. And despite this, I've never met a more free thing. They suffer in silence and sing in choirs of quiet somewhere. Water is falling. Somewhere, a falcon is pressed from the belfry and learns to fly and returns to the top of a tower somewhere. The wind rises, glazing the leaves, its branches, its trunk, and at the root of it, I know you are still singing. Or your laugh is tangled in a cloud that hangs above everything. I've learned to like trees because they stay put and fell for you because you've refused to. Thank you.
Thomas Dunn, very nice, very nice. No, it's the first time I've ever thought about retiring to the woods with the dog. You started something here. I like that. So, James Cagney, not to be confused with the famous actor, is the second featured reader, and his first of his 2 award-winning books is called Black Steel Magnolias in the Hour of Chaos Theory. And man, you don't find many titles that beat that. Like, whoa, Lord have mercy. And a winner of the Penn Oakland 2018 Josephine Miles Award. And then the next book, Martian, The Saint of Loneliness, was winner of the 2021 James Laughlin Award from the Academy of American Poets. So it gives me great pleasure to present James Cagney.
Wow, it is a great pleasure to be here back at home in this bookstore, and with Michael, who I've known for a bunch of years, and with Thomas, who I've just met and cannot live without. So righteous, much love to you all. I'm actually going to not do any hard sales on books. I'm going to read to you all new pieces, with one exception. I got a unexpected email from a former cohort of mine who wanted to know if I had a copy of a poem she wanted to use for her classes. And I was like, I've lost all contact with that poem. I don't even think I have the chapbook that was originally in. Turns out she mailed me a PDF that I had signed over to her. And that PDF was dated in August of 1996. And I wanted to share that poem with you because I was like, after I read it, it was like rereading a diary that I'd forgotten about. And just want to share it and see what happens. So here you go. This has been long retired and now back from the grave. It is too hot today. Clouds congeal into marble and rain sand. Mountains become open sores. Fire assumes the cloak of wind and slices infected scars through Death Valley. The earth bleeds. Sand dunes boil. The ozone peels back like the skin of an orange. Heat falls in daggers, its true nature suddenly revealed. The sun is thirsty for blood. It is too hot today. Rivers of flesh flood the streets of Los Angeles and New York. Asphalt liquefies. Buildings become popsicles drooling concrete and metal, while along the Montana countryside, whole herds of cattle, bison, and horses explode into black popcorn. Their leftover ashes appear peppery as snow. Fields of grass dissolve into slime green foam. Wood becomes paste. Trees bearing liquid bombs of fruit fall limp and lay along the ground like snakes. It is too hot today. Whole cities of people go mad from the marrow boiling in their bones. Hair becomes screaming crowns that eat brutal memories of winters long since dead. The yawning pores in skin open their tiny mouths and drink cancer, fearfully anticipating that their bodies will sneeze themselves into flame. Suicidal guns drool lead down shirts, branding chests and shoulders with the mark of a new religion. These survivors organize themselves into sects and pray over an Eskimo Jesus at the Church of Spontaneous Human Combustion, where they teach that hell is a casino on earth and God may cash your chips in at any moment. It is too hot today. Who shall save us? The wind has committed suicide, slicing open its veins along sharp stones, bleeding cornmeal. The ocean has sifted itself into salt. Rivers, lakes, pools, and ponds have become fossilized veins of history. There is nothing left for us to do but fold into ourselves and wait. Listen for the beat of the internal clock constructed entirely from leathery bones. Time was once flowers with gold stems that we stomp upon, but under this regime of fire, ours have become swords with teeth spitting poisonous darts. Days pass overhead like vultures with steel beaks and metallic feathers. It is too hot today. The night eventually staggers in like a whore, but it cannot get dark enough here. It cannot get cool enough. Each star is its own aspiring sun, swirling like dust around the moon, a bright butterfly of iron. Sleep if you can, little one. Dream now of supper, of food. Hunger is a thing of the past. There's nothing cooking in the kitchens of destruction but ancient souls. It used to be that in every drop of rain was a seed, a key unlocking the secrets in dirt. Now the soil yields nothing but space for graves. Now we live in the biography of thermal darkness, where we eat meals of peppers and salt, where we sweat granulated dynamite, and where junkies shooting up Freon assume religions of ice in burning churches. It is too hot today. It is too hot to breathe. It is too hot to live. It is too hot to do anything but pray and burn. Thank you. What's funny is I actually snuck that poem unsigned into a workshop with teenagers that I was doing as examples of metaphor, and they all universally hated it. They said in that circle as they roasted me unknowingly that there's no hope in that poem, and I was thinking, I'm responsible for hope? These two poems are unrelated but written at the same time. So here we go. These are my efforts for National Poetry Month. 1. Speaking of, an ice age approaches for things that don't freeze. Every touchable element melts into boneless air. Torn zippers of bark display on Scotch pines in shredded degrees. Moonlight in mitosis sparks across a blackboard of darkness. Raw rainbow filaments reach their fingers into every ticklish corner. An ice age approaches for things that don't freeze. A cloud marquee forecasts a season of loneliness in subtitles of snow. Mirage of flame and fragrance brushes an orgasmic horizon. Palm trees aggressively flamenco in their denial of roses. One can mold a glittering of candles, yet never own a single flame, despite their veils radiant as gold coins. An ice age approaches for things that don't freeze. Our sun can only concentrate on half a planet at a time, shining from its throne with an arrogance of gold teeth. The moon, in a kimono of stars, shyly fan dances the sun. Perhaps upon death, spirit breaks out in a perfume of song. We pass bubblegum communion from one mouth to another. An ice age approaches for things that don't freeze. Zippers of bark display on river birches in shredded degrees. This is 2. Making love near cemetery gates, we break out in tears. Obligatory rain polishes headstones better than wax. They flash like badges spilled beneath lightning. Some faces are islands of impassable terrains. A procession of shadows pace the rain-jeweled fog. Making love near cemetery gates, we break out in tears. Once, a homeless man called out my whole name. I'm on the ground, not the grave, he said. I had to apologize for treating him like family, while pocketed dollars shiver like mandrake roots. After midnight, whippoorwills throat sing jazz, an ensemble of dropped keys, sizzling meat, lost ringtones. Sweet blackberries germinate near the mausoleum. Pine needles, mulberry and walnut leaves shuffle a taro picnic. Check my tongue for unspoken desires. It is ringed like a tree, astonished that every inch of your skin tastes of pomegranate. To the blind angel on my tongue, you are a snowbank of sugar. Making love near cemetery gates, we break out in tears. Ghosts pace like fathers in nurseries awaiting a decree of years. Hot dang. This is called Let Me Holler at You. This city is in between cities right now. This city with dirty streets like collapsed arteries. This city is going through some things and just can't and might have to be put down. This city is where the rich compete in buildings, tagging territories in titanium graffiti. God being a poor man's investment, this city keeps its churches locked, open by request of those who tithe more than use needles. This city closed its homeless shelters for lack of corporate sponsors. At last night's news conference, the mayor broke out in tears after someone stole the catalytic converter out of her limo. She admitted the game was rigged for decades, but it's over now, baby. A skyline of empty buildings, fish tanks souped with dead mollies. Sunset sticks its fangs in skyscrapers and sucks out the staph infection. From 98 floors up, the homeless smell fine. Drug addicts can't be recognized, crawling like ants to shoot up in the lobbies of buildings named after their grandparents. Half the unhoused in heroin microsleep own the properties that they are hosed off the entryway. This city is a dystopian movie set and scaring the neighbor's ginger doodle. The streets walk themselves and grind their teeth all night. The bridges are syringes, the sidewalk a belt knotted on a dead arm. This city is on the nod. This city stares at the moon, unsure of its intentions, says, don't I know you from somewhere? Says, let me hold on to the little something something before the next eclipse. No one will look this city in the eye. This city says, everything's fine. This city will rise from the ashes of the suburbs and dance. Just you watch from the cemetery. Oof. Not until that very second did I realize this reading is themed. Part of my work as a poet is excavation of memory. And it was nice to be able to cache a couple of stories that's just been in my head into actual poems. So these are two ghost poems that I want to run for you back to back. The first one is called Only Some Houses Are Haunted. And yeah, if you don't believe in ghosts, God, how lucky you are. Only some houses are haunted. My bedroom walls became portals after the house realized my mother, its longest living owner, was dead. They itched themselves, scratching compulsively. Every room moaned with different concerns. For an entire day and night, a tiny candle left burning on one of her souvenir state plates could not be blown out. One night, my father taught me not to fear the dark, but learn to live in it, as it was all he knew for certain. He mumbled his final lessons on darkness, sitting at the edge of my bed while I licked the crumbs from last night's sleep. The weekend my grandmother died, she paid her respects, checking for fever while I slept, despite me skipping her funeral. Ghosts are a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. In 1945, ghosts in Hiroshima were flash burned into the ground and walls stubbornly left standing. My mother's voice was like those shadows, still on duty in the house, overheard in a cocktail party enclosed within my bedroom wall. She didn't scare me. It is only the attention and curiosity of the unknown dead that terrifies. They don't realize they no longer have my trust. Unlike me, they don't know how to let go. Solid. And this one is called Smiling into the Void. I hated the hysterical silences of my great aunt's house in Stamford, Texas, the one on West Oliver we'd visit every summer. She lived alone for years, yet the house maintained a hectic darkness. It was fidgety, yet stingy with love. Its mahogany walls trembled like an oily wound struggling to heal. Even her lenticular painting of Jesus worried me because his eyes watched you cross the living room. Despite being 1,500 miles from home, I don't remember sleeping there. Maybe I refused, preferring our familiar RV despite it being crowded with cousins and me having to sleep on the floor next to my mother. One night, I opened my eyes to chart a path for the bathroom and saw a woman standing right there, an articulated shadow having lost its body, richer black than darkness itself and silent, missing the susurrus of fabric and breath. The figure appeared to place hands on its hips, shake its head in wonder of us all. I slammed my eyes closed and double bolted them, even keeping my mouth shut until well after daybreak. By then, the RV was mostly empty, except for my mom and her sister, my favorite Aunt Rosemary. They stood turning bacon at the stove, chatting about their aunt, a name years before my time. After listening to them, I sat up, ready to jump out of my skin, and said, I saw her too. As the bacon cheered and spat hot thorns, Aunt Rosemary, so casual, so nonchalant, said, oh, she wouldn't do nothing to you, and sounded happy to have seen her again, her comforting silhouette, her devoted night patrols. Aunt Rosemary looked into the same void I saw, this rogue constellation, smiled and called its name. Once, after dark, my father stood on the bank of a river and called out that we share the same ingredients as stars, the grains of sugar spilling towards us. We, too, keep shining, and at night, anyone seeing us from across a great distance cannot tell whether we are living or dead. Yeah, let's solid that one and that one. We'll finish with two. Oh, that's interesting. We'll finish with these two. This one, actually, I wrote at Cave Canem. This is called Tina Turner's Wig Gives Their Final Public Address. I ain't no wig. I am a high-jeweled crown, heliotrope to the sunlight. I may not have roots, but anyone can see we, all of us, are inseparable, the first compassionate partner she ever got to choose. She sat me on her knee, not like a doll, but a sister, and chanted herself empty. The care she needed, she massaged into each lock. She said, "You better be good to me." Said her real name was Anna May, then told every pebble of her story between Nutbush to Buckingham Palace. She explained I was her new legacy, shiny and divine, handcrafted, purified in ceremony, then left dry natural. I was sewed and ruffled, back-combed and teased until I could defy gravity. And how high I could rise for her. It's because of me fans recognize her before she ever opens her mouth. Everyone goes on about her insured legs, the girls, she calls them. I've heard of them, but I am her marquee. I shine like the rainbow of light God sent before swearing off more rain. Oh, my lady, how long I've been meaning to tell you, every strand, every fiber, everything depends upon love. Usually I would open with this for exercise, and here's where we close. The aftermath of atomic aneurysms at this altitude is every bride's burning bouquet, a bubble bulletin or bullet list of chores. I feel caught in the collapse of our Commonwealth coast. Dollars to donuts, you'll dismiss the doctor's latest discovery. This evening's exam has been at my expense, and I've had enough. If we're frying flounder for Father's Day, then who's got the goose grease? This gravy is humiliating. Who will hold us in the heather? What is heather? The indignity of ignorant inquiries from the Illuminati, it's insane. Who jump-started this jalopy at the Juneteenth Jamboree? The jockey was jawing jerk chicken by the time we got to the kitchen. Knock wood, knucklehead, and quit kink-shaming my knobby knees. I'll let you lick the lyrics to your love language along my lower leg if you'll listen to me murmur about mules matriculating through med school. Oh, never mind. My nudes were released to network news last night. We need order among the organisms. This isn't an orgy. It's an ordained paradox of pimps in your periphery. Please don't make this political. There's already a quiet quarrel on the quad. Cue up for a quick questionnaire. Here's a quill and my first inquiry. What's so repellent about red cabbage that you would write such a raunchy restaurant review? The lead on this one says, the sauce on these sandwiches ain't been the same since Stephen had his sore throat. He said, this thing is tingling. He's been so tough through his trials. I thought it was tragic until he took umbrage against my umbrella. I didn't upturn it. It belonged to my valet. He keeps various vanities in his valise: waterproof Walkman, waffle iron, wood smoke-infused whiskey, waxed boxes affixed with axes, sexy onyx xenoliths annexed as for a rue. Yesterday he yelped over yardsticks, yearning for yeeks, but did not yippee. Zip it, Zeke. Blame your zodiac for its lack of pizzazz. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Wow, fierce, gorgeous, witty. It's all going on, man. Very nice, very nice. So, Guy, I can't thank you guys enough. Absolutely a memorable evening. And we're going to take maybe, 5-7 minute break and come back. And anybody who hasn't signed up for the open who would like to read, please let me know and I'll put you on the list. Wow. All right, we're going to start the open mic portion of the evening, and Jerry's going to preside over that. I'm going to read a couple of three little things before to get the juices flowing or something. To that effect. What's that? Closer to the mic. Wow. Maybe I'm too tall. Maybe put a little. Yeah. I am kind of a towering figure. So this is entitled Insomnia. And I was looking at some stuff today, and I thought I have a friend. She's been retired a couple of years after many decades as a school teacher. And, you know, the various indignities of old age, you know, unless you've been there, it's like, well, it's awesome. You know, so every day there's something. But my friend is suffering from what she considers incurable insomnia. So I thought, Anyway, this is something I wrote some years ago called Insomnia. The moon is awake, ladling silence from a bucket no bigger than a bullet. At least that's the official explanation. The candy is black, the snow tastes blood. Sleep mounts a wolf under my blanket as the world eludes comprehension. It must be 4 a.m., but what's the hurry? Only the invisible is obvious and saves us from the science of sober souls. Prayer to the great void. Teach me, omniscient conundrum, sweetest of lies, apex of apices, scourge of the wise, about finance and fiasco, forensics and doom. In the madhouse of holiness, reserve me a room. I'm going to read this. A friend her mother discovered this trunk of family heirlooms or precious things, like dolls from all over the world. And I haven't even heard the story. They're not sure who collected them or any of the stories. But she invited friends to choose a doll and write some type of poetic or imaginative response to the doll. And I chose a doll that apparently is a Ghanaian doll. And it's kind of very casually made. It's kind of, it's asymmetrical and kind of awkward. And the face is just painted on and a little bit of a grimace or, there's something a little disturbing about it. It's not just a, reassuring little doll. I give the little girl the doll to, to exercise her maternal instincts or something. It's kind of something a little more sinister about it. This is entitled Letter to a Lost Doll Found. You've been getting dolled up since time's scimitar split the aboriginal diamond, since the scent of blooming lilacs set the grass on fire. Buried under the dollhouse, your coerced quietude, your bedraggled beauty. Who planted your wooden breasts in the yellow soil? Who watered your hunger and hid your thirst? Who hemmed your rough-hewn skirt and knit the threads of an owl's midnight cry? Are you the illicit glee of a colonizer blind drunk, muddy tributary to a nightmare? Or a link to our equatorial mother and the marrow of dreams? A seed, dusk unbound, a grandmother's lost sibling circumnavigating whirlpools, sailing siete mares, ample and emaciated, hair like silk and hair like wire, improbable strength, lamentable weakness, barren, fecund. You're the fright we wear like a wig, a remedy for nocturnal terror. You are made of dark wood, cloth, hair, stems, tendrils, desperado magic, lost, found, and lost again. Our antic cousin in the spume of Liamaya. They're selling counterfeit goddesses on eBay, but you are a real doll, the little lost sister who bids us fly like ravens. Good. Thank you, and I guess Jerry will preside over the rest of the festivities.
Sing a song here, and then I'll get to the open mic.
almost didn't make it. I called Jane, who's going to read here. She says, I'm 2 blocks away. I says, of what? So this is the cuckoo, which was the original American national bird was the cuckoo before the bald eagle. Yeah. So it's I think it's supposed to be one of the earliest American songs. Well, the cuckoo, she's a pretty bird. She warbles as she flies, but she never hollers cuckoo till the 4th day of July. Yes, the cuckoo, she's a pretty bird, and I wish she was mine. She don't never drink water, she only drinks wine. Well, I'm gonna build me a cabin on a mountain so high, so then I can spy the cuckoo as she warbles on by. Yes, the cuckoo, she's a pretty bird, and I wish she was mine. She don't never drink water, she only drinks wine. Now we get to the exciting open list, the great open lisp. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Jane, I think you're first.
Yes, I'm first. Jane Radis.
hold on to the book just so I don't pull the bookstore. Bookstore. There we are. Okay. If I sit here, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, I'm reading from 2 self-published books, and this first one, I designed a tarot deck, and I made a book, or actually, I hired a book designer to make a book out of this.
Just so we can see you.
Oh, okay. So basically, this is a book of the tarot cards, 78 cards. And the first one is The Fool, living in the current. The fool is almost out of this world, standing on the edge of a dream. It's a long fall down. A fool, a spool of winding thread, a thread here and threadbare. Life looms varied and lovely, meaning the third eye says hello. And this is the 11th card, Justice. Justice. Love is the law. Libra. Justice is symmetry and kaleidoscopic karma. The lady Libra runs uphill. Elusive butterfly, exclusive of decoration. How do you fly with monarchs? Meaning, hear an echo, see a ripple, tip the scales just a little. And here is the King of Cups, astronomer. He is a stargazer who looks at constellations with primitive tools, measures and labels the stars that come nightly, and reads the writing in the sky. Tonight he's on a rooftop of the darkened city of love. His cat sleeps while he works, meaning active water spills out of farther sky. And this is another book of my poetry, just a couple short poems here. Sitting in the dark, I sit in the darkness and wait to see how much of it I can see and if I can make out the colors in it. 3 pictures loom, square clouds above the bed. The lamp sparkles in the darkness, and darkness can just barely see the light. And one more from this book, carefully marked. My mother. We had another scare with my mother this week, so I called Saturday morning, and she was baking a lemon pie. She said, I bought 5 lemons, and it was too many. 5 lemons, 5 children. Is she speaking in poetic terms, or is she just talking about groceries? Thank you. Thanks. Let's see. I think we'll go in this direction. And then, thank you.
Okie doke. Moving right along, Shinura. Yeah, Oh, okay. Sure. What's your last name? I can't read it. Okay.
2 inches. Are you gonna stand? You gonna stand? You gonna sit? Your choice.
Sure.
Maybe a little bit then. Okay.
So I'm gonna read a trilogy. The first one is called The Black Ink. A touch of ink, swirl in black water. It swims through the veins and launch onto the heart. It spills from the tip of the pen, and through the heart it spreads, surrounding the brain and the body like a cold blanket, welcoming you inside and out, making you feel trapped inside its cage. The black ink, another touch, from your own blood dripping, poisoned by doubt. The second one is called A Tornado. Smell, see, feel. Nails dig deep into the skin. Breathe in, breathe out, polluting the brain and the heart like gas dancing in the air. Look up and see you. In memories of every single mistake you make. Deeper the nail goes, so close to the veins. Like the black ink, it spreads viciously in a cage, but this time there's chain. Your arms, your legs, your neck. Hatred, 1,000 little pieces of glass drip blood from your heart. In the desert, burned by the icy sands, all the ugliness and regrets, a mental list of reminders, keeping it close in your arms, a fist ready for a war, twist and turn inside you like a tornado, it swallows you whole. And then the last one is called You. No, stop. Why? No. You know the consequences? Stop. Why continue when you know how bad the effects? Over and over in the daily basis? Reach for goals and success, but procrastinate instead? So you spend your days choking you from the inside out in a circle and infinity? The black ink is inside you because you want to. The tornado rages because you chose to. To see yourself being poisoned, choking, drowning, and thirsting like a never-ending story in a box in imitation. Think someone else put that cage and chains? No. After all, you can't achieve when you fell in love with failure. And you can't create yourself watching your own life and dreams crumble down by you. In fire, flame, and ashes, in water, ice, and snow. Self-sabotage, burned and frozen, frozen and burned. Far, far away from the journey you want to be. The journey you are meant to be.
Okay, Scooter. Scooter Pine.
You're gonna have to do the sign-up list by size next time. You gonna sit or stand, Scooter?
I'm gonna stand.
All right. Gonna stand on a milk crate?
No.
Oh, all right.
I don't think so.
Yes, might be okay.
I believe I tried to read this one last time, but I couldn't read my own writing, so let's give it a shot. They're all written on envelopes. I'm a habitual recycler. Time is intention. We are more than our wounds. Intention as attention. Time is possibility. The possibility of change is time. Time is silence, is faith, is imagination. The night is memory of the moon, a name carved in bone. Silences, intention, imagination. Face the possibility of time, of intention, of change. The moon is a memory of the night. Memory, a bridge, reminder of silence, of intention, of faith, of time. This is not an ode to salt or lemon or lawn furniture. If this is a poem, it is not a critique of society as the seemingly endless madness that never goes away. Love wins, or does it? Maybe love will slow down the madness for a moment or two so that we can respond, recognize the beauty that also exists. If this is a poem and not just some crazy scribbling in the middle of the night, waiting for the morning, the sound of the crows and their funny song, waiting for the cat to jump on the bed and slip between us and purr himself to sleep as day begins again, an ode to something, a new day. So I've been doing a series of poems. AI meets a certain poem. AI meets Cummings. An intelligent man had a date with the moon. The moon had a date with the stars, a piece of forever. The moon is an angel, is a mountain. Perfect silence, the mountains of the moon, absolute man, ocean of time. Earth is love, yes. Is the moon the intelligent man? Yes, is the moon. The intelligent man forgot everything and fell in love again with the moon. And I read this one. This will be the last one. I read this one once, but I like it, so I'm going to read it again just to see what it feels like. AI meets Bob Kaufman. Tonight, Santa Claus is safe in heaven. A jazz chick flips her lid. God has demands. No one is listening. The Pope masturbates to the Buddha. Distorted trombones leave my soul empty while my heart dances a cowboy ballet. An unpainted picture is waiting for a paintbrush. Although I'm standing at a bus stop, I'm not waiting for a bus. I'm waiting for the moon. The moon in the night sky. I'm waiting for the moon to rise in the night sky and take me home. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Antoinette. Hi. Well, I have this kind of long one, but I think it'll be okay here. I don't think it's all that long. How's that? Good? Okay. Singing this song for you, Leon Russell. Dissonant screech in every melodic backdrop, sung by ghosts. Life is strife, they say. Doing karaoke as the dungeon floor falls into an abyss. Overripe plums dripping like skulls sliced widthwise. Ambulances cry out in early morning mist. It's the nature of addiction. Find the fix, fill the hole, mend the need to make us whole. Bodies varied, gaining in strength of mind, faltering at the finish line. All versions condensed to one, like cells, dying then renewed. We remain the same. Seduced by legal tender, flaming feathers strutting bare, ravaged by alcohol, age, and cigarettes, chasing green in a slot machine. Around the curb, flowers bring kindness out in everyone. Exalted, sweet souls reign. We chortle, chuckle, crackle, laugh. After years in the grave, gin boosted from juniper berries, fermented like formaldehyde with enough water to stay afloat, wandering this world, airport to boat dock, your vessel of choice heading for distant black holes. Unseen nor heard, pulsing in sync with shooting stars or God's breath calling creation's creatures, twin designs, fruit flies and jellyfish, built like humans, mouth to bowel. Desert winds, bluster bold, ride me home with Leon Russell singing this song for you, and I take it like an ogre, grotesque in my mind, singing like the seraphim, dancing like a bull, light on my feet with a sway, my talents unclaimed. Standing in the ocean, waves and wind dripping down my face in sheer gratitude for solitude. Summer sizzled before the marine layer made moss mild enough to brush away, yet the taste lingers. Children learn rhymes, changing a line here and there to fit the times. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, lit a match to a snail. Schizophrenia lurked in tart grapes budding on the vine. We ate them anyway, letting go of guilt every time we reach for dopamine over any good reason. Compassion the prize for me and for you, strength and grace, dynamic duo, under the cracked engine block, seeping transmission fluid onto wooden planks resembling blood-stained brown paper bags and stripped shiny soup cans, homes for long nails and short black tacks waiting for their glory day. Sure of purpose given to narcissist hammer, pounding out pleasure, neurotransmitters offering a punch under passive pressure, government laws and lies, twisting truth made up to suit some acceptable history line. John's basement surrounded by this fascist, racist state, storing tools for the taking by everyone who will someday belong. Jehovah Shalom, Lord of peace, name of God, when there was no peace in Israel. Gaza was destroyed while the world watched, and Leon Russell sang this song for you on the radio, proof of invisible tidings, airwaves where seagulls float. And tiny Yemen calls U.S. and U.K. and Israel foreign terrorists, choosing whether I live or not, part of me as part of you, sharing destiny, eclipsing our special identity, and Leon Russell's ghost sings his song on the radio in the background of this distant time, mapping space and dividing up eternity. Thank you so much.
And last of all, we have Walker Brent, who's no stranger to this jungle.
No stranger. Oh, what was the title?
That was Leon Russell singing the song for you.
Yeah, singing the song for you. I remember that song. And Leon Russell, of course, and one could become a student of his work, but I'm not exactly. But I do remember that song. So that's and then let me just say really quickly. So here's a poem made from other poems, and it's called "The Fool and Justice," because I decided, oh yeah, that's "The Fool and Justice," and I just also want to say that. There's some California artist, and I cannot remember his name, but he made a William Blake tarot. Perhaps you've heard of it. Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful tarot, and it's a beautiful way to meditate on Blake because he pays really close attention, and he's very familiar with Blake's motifs, and then he just adapts them to the tarot, and he uses Blake's images, and so it's gorgeous, But anyway, so this poem is called "The Fool and Justice." Poems from other poems. So there's two poems from Bly and Snyder, and it's 3 lines, and I didn't make up a single line of this poem except the title, "The Fool and Justice." Poems from other poems.
You grow your wings on the way down. That crazy web of wavelets makes sense seen from high above. And then I just want to read a poem where I imagined that I myself, this poem is called Jack Spicer as a First Negative Rebuttalist. Jack Spicer is a first negative rebuttalist. It connects two worlds of, intellectual existence, poetry and debate. Jack Spicer is a first negative rebuttalist, conjuring up a metaphor to crystallize all the issues up to now. He looks up from his stacks of 3x5 index cards into the middle distance and sees a squirrel who sees an acorn at the tip of a distant twig. The acorn is really there, but the twig may not be. The only way to make a twig appear as the road to a real acorn is to climb on it, and by so doing bring said road into existence. Squirrels whisper secret messages to debaters all the time, and sometimes demonstrate them by chattering and scampering and picking themselves up if the bough breaks and they fall down from the tree of knowledge, from no matter how high a height. So it's the image of the fool again, it just appears. So we're working collectively and we're doing good. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you all. So who's next up on the, where's Michael?
The woman who's the poet laureate of a neighboring town. Keep your eyes peeled. I'll let you know.
How about, let's see, what is it, the first Thursday of next month?
Yeah.
I'm about to tell you what you need to know here. It says there are poets. That's
Doesn't
what
say
I'm
it?
saying. So you'll have to figure out what town and what name.
Well, yeah.
Stay tuned, folks.
Anyway, yeah.
So
Come back next month. It's going to be great.
Thomas?
Fabulous.
Featuring in August with Alice Rosen. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry I missed it.
Oh, it's all good.
I know, we're going, we're doing it on ours.
good.
Yeah, well,
Does your guitar have
No,
a name?
I know,
Or
I
is
was
it-
the.
Yeah.
It's just a small classical guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna.
They call it a requinto, but nobody knows what that means. Maybe something means young man, or because I tune it a little higher in pitch than the regular guitar.
So the thing was,
Nice to see you.
yeah, so you're thinking.
So how many years have you hung on to that? Because that's not the one that I remember you from.
Well, I've had 4 or 5 of these.
Okay.
But one girlfriend I had broke them off.
Yeah.
Thank you for your reading,
Oh,
both of you.
thank you.
It was really great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I loved your poem as well.
Thank you, you too.
Antoinette, right?
Uh-huh.
Thank you for reading.
And you too.
Oh, it's awesome to hear you.
That was great.
Yeah.
Coming next work. Yeah.
You all too. I'll come next Thursday too. Athletic.
Oh, yeah.
Great job.
Oh, just your line going.
Oh, well, thank you. I love the Bob Kaufman use AI.
Sorry about being late.
I appreciate that.
I was about to call
Nice to hear you guys.
Yeah, it was fun.
You guys live in San Francisco or where do you live?
I'm in Oakland.
Oh, okay.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to make the trip back across town. So I live at CCA. I still go to CCA, but I live on CCA's campus. Right?
What's CCA? California College.
Wow.
School was a long time ago.
Yeah. I have 2 more weeks, and I hope to say that this year.
And then you have a degree?
Yep. I will leave with a master's.
Oh, fantastic. No, that's really super.
graduated college 2 years ago. Wow, man, it was so special, you know.
Yeah.
You know, for him and for us, and just like, you know.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Thank you. Where did your son graduate from?
Arizona State. He has a degree in aeronautic engineering.
Yeah, it's no joke. No, that's not. I don't even know what that is actually.
Just, you know, the dynamics of flight and how flight systems work. You know, it's just a very specialized engineering thing. So, you know, he's got a good job. I mean, he already makes these 24 hours. He makes the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that from the time he was like 15, that's what he wanted to do. And so he did it. But the coolest thing was we were at a party with a bunch of people, you know, parents that they went to elementary school, high school, junior high. And every kid was still either living at home or getting money from their parents. And like, except one other kid, and my son doesn't borrow money from us. Nothing. So it's not that I wouldn't give him some, but but still, he's good. Yeah. It's all him. It's truly all him. It's truly all him. He wanted to do this from the time he was a kid. He just take things apart and put them back together and stuff. So anyway,
that's amazing.
It's a nice thing. But you're going to do films and all sorts of stuff.
Well, I hope so. That's the plan. That's the plan. We'll see. I applied for I don't know if you know Pennsylvania Archives.
I know.
It's a old-fashioned like archive. They have home films, infomercials from the 1950s through like recently. But it's kind of this collective kind of like archive for 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter, Super 8. So I used to do a lot of work. Well, I used to make a lot of films, right? Rotoscope, that kind of stuff, because of the digital archive. And so they have a position for a fellowship for people that are not film archivists. So I applied for that. We'll see if I get in. I hope so.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
It reminded me of this totally different thing, that there was a program on public TV like in the early 70s. Rudy D. and what was her husband?
Ozzie Davis.
Ozzie Davis. And they did a show where they read Bob Kaufman's poetry. And you can look it up on YouTube and stuff. It's a very great. It's really great. And it's fantastic. The whole hour is them reading and, you know, and sort of